Hello everybody, my name is J.S. Matthews. Welcome back to the third episode of Writing and Role-Playing. Now today we're going to be taking a look at a little craft here. This is called Ultimate Dungeon Terrain that was created and designed by a guy named Professor Dungeon Master at the Dungeoncraft YouTube channel, which I will put a link in the description to his episodes. I think they're absolutely phenomenal. I think if you're interested in this, you should go check them out. But what is this? Sort of like a little stage for you to kind of set up and use in your tabletop role-playing games. Make setup easy and clean up easy. So without further ado, let's go ahead and jump on in. The first thing we're going to do is grab these. These are Xps Foam. I got these from Home Depot. Just a couple bucks each. I think maybe $4.50 each or $5 with inflation. It might be up a little more now. But they're nice. They're about 2 feet by 2 feet. And the foam is super easy to cut. You can use a knife, but I'm going to go ahead and start by using a hot foam cutter as you see here. Now, the hot foam cutter definitely makes it a little bit easier, and if you look here, you can cut this in a nice circle. I've seen other people do that. If you go watch Professor Dungeon Master's videos, he cuts them in these really nice circles. Me, I'm a bit lazy, and so I like to just trim off the edges, make it look almost like a little cliffside, and they can eventually double as other pieces of terrain, but that's kind of how I do it. You can feel free to do it how you want. Now here's the finished product. That top one I cut a little different than the other ones. I kind of did that one first and did the others later. As you can see, I'm doing quite a few of them. Now each of these is going to be double-sided, and I'll take a look at the other ones in later videos, but we're going to start with one that's going to be a cave on one side and then a town square or town streets on the other. Now what I'm going to do here is cover this in a nice mix of black paint and Mod Podge. I think I stole that from Jeremy at Black Magic Craft, and that'll give you a nice playing surface that's not going to be damaged. But this one, I'm going to add to it a little bit of baking soda, as you saw there, and that'll give it some grit and a little bit of texture. So when I paint over, it'll give it a nice little kind of grimy texture, or not grimy, grainy texture. That's what I'm looking for. And there we go. We just start slapping it on, and I just cover the whole thing in a nice coat of black paint, Mod Podge, and baking soda. Alright, now this is what they look like when they're done. I have a couple extras there. This is kind of a little tease for the next videos we're going to work on. But they look pretty good already. This is kind of when everything really starts coming together. But that's the carved side. I carved in all those little stones using a pen. And I didn't actually get that on video. I had done that a while ago and ended up not getting the actual carving in, which is fine. It took forever. But to paint it, we're going to go ahead and grab a little apple barrel pewter gray. And then I literally just pour it into the little bowl there and just start slapping it on. And I give it a pretty good coat here, as you're going to see, because even getting it down into those crevices is not a big deal, because we are going to hit this with a big wash. But for now, we're going to go ahead and cover this with some pewter gray. Alright, now after that, I'm going to hit it with this little bit of this brown. It's called Mushroom. And man, I really wish I would have used a little more of this. This really makes it look really nice, but what I did was I actually wiped most of it off on a paper towel, and I gave it a little bit of a dry brush, but it's a pretty heavy dry brush, as you're going to see here as we go on. But I really give it a couple good coats of this, just in certain areas. And again, I wipe it off pretty good first, so you just get a good dusting. But you're going to start noticing as I go in the video, I use more and more of this, because I realized how good it looked with that gray. You know, stones are not just gray and black. They have a lot of brown in them. Sometimes they have some white, even some pinks and stuff like that, and purples. So you will see me do a couple different colors. But in this one, we just stuck with the brown, and this is kind of how it looked at the end. And next up, I decided to do the black wash, and this, again, I took this from Jeremy at Black Magic Craft. If you want to go watch his videos, he's incredible. I am definitely not of the higher end when it comes to the art side of this. For me, I kind of settle with what looks good and what also uses my time well, and this black wash is great. All this is mostly water, and you just put a couple drops of black paint in it, and then one little drop of dish soap. Don't do too much of the dish soap, otherwise you get some kind of white griminess on it. But this is how it looks at the end. You can see how that wash really seeps into those crevices, and it looks really good. Next up, I'm going to grab a tan here. I think it's called linen, and we're going to go ahead and give this a nice dry brushing. And I don't use too much of this. I think I did use a little too much at one point, but it does get toned down surprisingly. It really, once it dries, it didn't stick out as much as I thought, and it honestly looks pretty good. And again, I use this in the outsides, kind of the raised edges and of each of those bricks, and it really kind of draws attention to the outside of each of the, I guess, flagstones. And it really looks pretty good once it's done. Alright, next up is the other side. We're going to flip over our two-sided Ultimate Dungeon Terrain here. And again, we do have our two sides, so I'm going to paint the other side, same thing, give it some pewter gray. Now this side, all I really did was texture it a little bit with a tinfoil ball, and then I did that black paint and Mod Podge, but with the I think it was baking soda in it, but you can use grout as well. I've tried it before with grout, and that works really well as well. But we're just going ahead and hit it with this pewter gray, and as you can see, I leave some darker spots in there, and that's totally fine. You know, it's supposed to be a nasty, dark and damp cave, so I think that'll be fine. And again, we go with that mushroom color, and I really hit it hard this time. I realized how great it looked on the other side, and so I hit the cave a lot harder, and I did want them to look a little different. Now once that was done, I grabbed another color here. This is a lighter color. It's Italian Sage. And it's a little bit of it's a gray with a little bit of a green tinge to it. And really I just used this to kind of lighten up some spots and blend in that brown and that gray. And again, it really, you know, I used it almost like a dry brush. I just keep wiping it off on that paper towel. You can see how dirty it's getting. And I really just wipe it in there and really just kind of blend in those spots. And you will see some lighter areas and some darker areas. And I've seen people do like a lighter area in the middle, but I didn't go that route. Finally, we go ahead and hit it with that black wash again. Again, I get a nice layer of that. And again, that's just black paint, a little bit of water, a little bit of black paint, a lot of water, and then a tiny bit of dish soap. And I think I did a little too much dish soap because I actually get some white kind of, you know, little circles on it, but it ended up being fine. I was able to wipe them off. They came off super easy and everything looked good, as you can see here. And here is the final product. I hit them both with a nice, both sides with a really thick layer of matte varnish, and that really seals that in and keeps the paint protected. And I think it looks really good. I think both sides look great, and yeah, those are definitely going to be ready for the tabletop. Ah, and who might you be? A group of mercenaries? No, of course not. You are adventurers, fresh off the road and looking for work, no? Well, if it is coin you seek, then you are in the right place. There's a certain wizard in town who seems to have lost one of his apprentices. The young man was last seen entering an old cave in the mountains south of town. I should warn you, though, there are rumors about those caves. Something not quite right about them. Some even say they are haunted. But don't believe those old wives' tales about ghouls and ghosts. But I'd suggest you be careful. Who knows what may or may not be waiting for you in the darkness. All right, well, I hope you guys enjoyed this episode of Writing and Role-Playing. We have plenty more to come. I have quite a few more Ultimate Dungeon Terrain episodes for you guys. But again, if you guys like this, definitely go and check out Professor Dungeon Master on the Dungeoncraft channel. He is the inspiration for pretty much all of this. And yeah, if you enjoyed it, leave a like, maybe even subscribe. I'd love to hear from you guys what you think, and maybe if you're using the UDT system. Again, mine's a little different than what he does, and I know he's changed it up a bit, but really I kind of like the way this looks. I like all the little different ways I can clear things out real quick and get an encounter set up really quick, and it doesn't take much time, and it's fun to kind of make these. Anyways, hope you all have a great day. Thanks for check my videos. I will see you in the next one, and I hope you all take care now.